afternoon, everyone, and welcome to Stock Market Today for Wednesday, July 30th. It's Alissa Coram here. And stocks finished mixed after the Fed's decision to hold interest rates steady. We have more on that, and we'll also be checking in on some key earnings reports out after the bell. Joining me now to discuss all of that and more is my colleague, Ken Shreve. Ken, over to you for today's rundown.
Yeah, lots of headlines, particularly in the afternoon, Ali. But so we'll talk about all that and talk about three stocks to watch as usual. Wanted to take a look at buy now, pay later firm Sezzle. SEZL in the security software group. Let's take a look at Zscaler, ZS, and Flutter Entertainment, FLUT, trading very tightly ahead of earnings next week.
Sounds like a plan. And among those, we'll be checking in on after the close with earnings. We'll get Ken's hot take on Microsoft, Meta, and more. But first, let's take a look at the major indexes finishing mixed. The NASDAQ, the sole index up on the day in less than 0.2% by sessions close. A lot of intraday volatility. I think we can tell where that Fed news and the conference hit, but up about 0.2% by the end of the day. Meanwhile, the S&P 500 down about 0.1% by sessions close. The Dow off by about 0.4%, and the Russell 2000 down about 0.7% or so, headed into the final stretch. Both blue chips and small caps can now testing that 21-day line. But let's go over to the NASDAQ and your take on this uptrend that we are continuing to see play out here.
Pretty amazing. The Nasdaq still respecting its 10-day moving average. You can see several weeks ago it came down to the 21-day line when it hit that low of 19,334. But it's been in a nice uptrend since then. We did have the Fed statement come out at 2 p.m. Eastern time today. I think there was a thinking that the Fed would be maybe a bit dovish and maybe might be talking explicitly about a rate cut in September. But the market got a slightly different tone from Jerome Powell. Does not seem to be in a rush to cut rates, and still concerned about the effect of tariffs. I think I heard Powell say that the U.S. is taking in 30 billion a month in tariffs. Still thinks that could fuel some inflation later in the year. So pretty interesting statement from the Fed. But and then President Trump, started talking about another 40% tariff on Brazil, putting tariffs on copper imports. So a lot of headlines that the market is dealing with. Great to see the Nasdaq close off lows and
Yeah,
hold support here at the 10-day.
exactly. You would think, I mean, if you went back, what, 6, 8 months, Ken, and you talk about, holding off on cutting rates because of inflation, likely to spook the markets, but it seems like we're shaking that off.
Well, the markets were spooked because the actual odds for a rate cut in September fell quite a bit. I mean, we were what, 60 to 65% chance of at least a quarter point cut in September. Those odds have faded now to about 50-50, maybe even a little bit less than
Mhm.
50% that we're going to get a rate cut in September. So that was a little surprising to the market, but again, pretty good close for the Nasdaq. Most of the selling was concentrated in blue
Mhm.
chips and small caps today. Even when the selling was at its worst, the uh, Nasdaq and S&P 500 were holding up better than the blue chip index. But you can see the Dow here, as you mentioned, Ali, making a key test of the 21-day moving average, like it did about 2 weeks ago when it hit that low of 43,758. So the Dow closed off lows, and Russell 2000 did not. Yeah, closed a little bit off lows, but it's testing the 21-day line as well here.
And the S&P with a mild decline here, just coming down to the 10-day line. We'll keep an eye on the 21-day as well for this key index. We're about 1.3% above that level. A test would not be surprising. It's a level that you see during a powerful trending market. act as an area as support, as you mentioned. But if you're just looking at the Nasdaq and S&P, it doesn't look like we're on shaky footing in terms of that Fed rate cut path at this moment. But we'll see what the day two reaction is like. That's something else that we like talking about with the statement and the conference coming later in the day, perhaps some overnight digestion into the next day. And we've got a lot of earnings reports to digest as well.
Yeah, no question about it. And don't forget, tomorrow on Thursday, we get the personal consumption expenditures index, which is one of the data points the Fed really likes to keep a close eye on. At last check, that's expected to come in at 2.7%. This is the number that the Fed wants to see closer to 2%. It registered 2.7% the prior month, so it's supposed to be unchanged. We'll see how the market reacts tomorrow. But overall, a pretty good close for the Nasdaq and the S&P 500, considering the fact that the odds for a rate cut actually went down
Mhm.
after this
Right.
Fed policy statement. I think the perception is that Fed Chairman Powell is not still not in a rush to cut rates, and he is still not convinced that inflation, he thinks that it could tick higher. So we'll see how that all plays out. But overall, a pretty decent close for the Nasdaq and the S&P 500.
No doubt. Well, with the Fed holding rates steady, let's check out the action in the 10-year yield today here, Ken. What are you watching?
Well, I saw a big drop yesterday. There was a lot of bond buying yesterday that caused a pretty key technical move for the 10-year Treasury yield. I think that was down about 10 basis points on the day. It rallied back a little bit, recouped about half of what it lost yesterday. So bond yields higher today. Again, I think it's going to be. I think tomorrow will be an important day for the market. Sometimes we get that one day lag. Market, like you said, likes to think about what the Fed said, and we'll see. We'll get a tame PCE reading, and then Friday we look forward to a pretty key jobs report that has become a lot more important lately.
Absolutely. Okay, well, let's take a look at some stocks of note, starting with Sezzle, which sure has been sizzling, Ken. Up 6% on Wednesday. We've got earnings coming up in a little bit over a week, but this is a strong digital payments name that really has been on fire for about the last quarter or so in particular.
Yeah, I mean, you just look at the last 4 quarters of results down at the bottom here, and the revenue acceleration has been super impressive. Obviously, some big earnings increases as well. But you see that growth, that top line growth, accelerating from 71% to 101 to the latest quarter. Those were Q1 results when revenue surged 123%. So yeah, this is buy now, pay later. It's a pretty crowded field, and Affirm AFRM was one of the first bellwethers to enter buy now, pay later. But Sezzle is they're serving kind of a niche market. I think Sezzle is a little more popular in the millennial crowd. The sort of the loans that they make are shorter term. Many are interest free. So they've carved out a nice little niche here. Uh, Beautiful earnings breakout several months ago, and just went on a really strong uptrend. Like the way the stock is consolidating here, comes down to its 50-day moving average, making a pretty good case for support here. Sometimes stocks come down to their 50 days, and they kind of hold support, but really starting to see buyers appear here at the 10-week moving average on the weekly chart. That was about a bad break a few weeks ago when Sezzle plunged, but it has it's firmed up where it should, and we'll see how the base shapes up here on that weekly chart. You got the relative strength line still up near highs, so this one still looking like it has a chance to be a market leader. Obviously, earnings next week, but
Yeah.
one that we're keeping an eye on.
Yeah, the triple digit growth no doubt impressive, and seeing that acceleration that you pointed out. And then from a technical perspective, in addition to the impressive outperformance as evidenced by that relative strength line, Ken, it's impressive to me since its bottom in early to mid April, this stock has only had one down week.
Yeah.
One down week since early April. That is impressive.
Yeah, pretty impressive. I agree. And how to make money in stocks, which written by our the founder of IBD, Bill O'Neill. He often talked about seeing weekly charts where you had 10, 11, 12 up weeks in a row. You often saw that in some big market winners, just buying demand so explosive. And there was quite a bit of volume when Sezzle initially started that move over the pretty much the 60 level, but forming in the early stages of forming a new possible base here, but firming up where it
Mhm.
should. And again, fundamentals are driving the story here. So a lot of people saying that Sezzle is still well positioned for growth as a young newer company.
Yeah. So with earnings next weekend, it seems like this is a top watch list name for you to see what that reaction is like and see if there's a potential viable entry point here.
Yeah, I think so. It's really been a nice start to second quarter earnings season. Looks like we're getting some really solid reports after the close today. But a lot of these top rated growth stocks that have been rallying ahead of earnings have actually gone on and made pretty nice. Gains post earnings as well. So we'll see what Sezzle has to say, but again, still technically strong ahead of the results.
Yep. Okay, let's go on over to Zscaler in the security software group. Similar in that this stock also had a really impressive run from the early April lows and is pulling back to key support.
Yes, and security software stocks have obviously been in the news the past couple of days. Palo Alto Networks looks like they're going to buy CyberArk software in a $25 billion deal. So that's put some of these security software stocks back in the spotlight. Zscaler, another stock that's been a big leader after that breakout over the 216 level. The stock ran up to 300 easily, and is now testing support right at the 50-day moving average. So yes, a similar setup to Sezzle. We'll see if support holds here. But I always looked at Zscaler as to one of the better performers in the security software group. Here again, a stock that had multiple up weeks when it first started breaking out. One, two, three, four, five, six, seven, eight, nine. Just really acting well. The decline lately has been in lower volume, so this uptrend can stay intact. I think Zscaler still has a chance of working just like Sezzle.
Mhm. So we have a little over a month until Zscaler's earnings report. So what level would you consider an actionable buy, Ken? Would it be some of the recent highs right around the 290 area? Would you want it to get above 300 or form more of a base here and take a little bit more time to
Well,
digest that powerful move?
y- I mean, yesterday's high looks interesting to me because it's sitting right at the top of these short-term moving averages. Zscaler had a nice close today. It dipped, rallied off lows, but still stopped short of yesterday's high. I think if it can move above yesterday's high with some conviction, you could get an early aggressive entry here. So I think that's the high to keep an eye on, and good close for the stock today. Relative strength line is not in as good a shape as Sezzle. Remember, Sezzle came down as testing its 50-day line. Its relative strength line is still looks pretty good, getting up near highs. And the Zscaler kind of a relative strength line lagging a little bit, but not in bad shape, not too far off highs here.
Okay, let's go to Flutter Entertainment in the leisure gaming equipment group, holding in a buy zone. We've got earnings coming up next week here as well.
Yeah, hard not to find companies that are kind of right around earnings time because we're right smack in the middle of earnings season. But here's another stock that has really made a nice move, and the price action last week and the price action this week is resulting in some very tight action, not only on the daily chart but also on the weekly as well. You can see just kind of holding tight here, and so we'll see. You know, earnings, like you said, are next week. DraftKings, also in the same industry group, in kind of a similar setup, and DraftKings looks like he actually, probably got a little buy signal today. So two stocks in the group acting quite well. Flutter, what draws me most to this one is just that tight trading over the past 5, 6, 7 days or so. So kind of paving the way for a possible breakout, healthy looking relative strength line here. Revenue growth has kind of slowed a little bit in recent quarters, so not perfect from a fundamental standpoint, but still a pretty good composite rating, and I think a breakout candidate.
All right. Let's take a look at some earnings out after the closing bell on Wednesday, starting with Meta. A very
Wow.
impressive reaction here. Shares up almost 11%. Ken, we had a strong earnings and revenue beat from the company. So we're looking at the earnings reaction here. And it looks like Meta also raised its forecast. So, potentially in position to buy tomorrow, depending on how the stock is looking, but a very encouraging reaction.
Yeah, well, it's possible that this could get extended pretty quickly from its 50-day line and its 10-week line. But you're looking at that recent high of 747.90, and it's trading about what 20 points above that in after hours trading. So we'll see. This stock does to me look to be quite liquid in after hours. So we'll see if this strong gain holds in the morning. Sometimes that happens and sometimes
Yeah.
not. But Meta tends to trade pretty liquid in
Mhm.
extended trading. So looks like a super strong move. I know we'll have a lot of coverage on the homepage of investors.com about what investors like so much about the report. I got to check that out myself, but really nice response so far.
Exactly. So if this gain holds tomorrow, that would definitely put Meta firmly in new high territory. Let's go to the other biggie, or one of the other biggies, and that is Microsoft. Also, a strong reaction here. Shares up 8%. Ken. So the company reporting revenue from Azure and cloud services for the first time. So that's also something to note here. Had a gap up last quarter, and the stock has been on a steady run ever since. Looks like investors are liking this quarter's report as well.
Yeah, big hyperscaler, just like Meta Platforms is, and you can see it's been a tremendous run for the stock after breaking out of this long consolidation. This was back end of May, early June in that area. So another large cap tech name showing a lot of relative strength with the relative strength line up near highs. Out of position here, tough to buy it after such a strong uptrend. So this is one that's obviously going to, well, it looks like it's going to gap up pretty powerfully. Um, so it's not really buyable here, but very encouraged to see Meta and Microsoft responding so well on earnings. I imagine that's lifting the Qs pretty nicely in the after hour session. Qs up 8 tenths of a percent. So we'll see if the Nasdaq can get a nice open tomorrow.
Yeah. And then a couple more to check out. Let's go to LRCX. This is a chip equipment maker. Shares up 4%. Also, Carvana out with its report. Shares up
My goodness.
14.5%. And then AEM, let's see if we can go. All right. I was going to say if we can go 5 for 5 here. Um, doesn't look like there's a whole lot of action just yet for Agnico Eagle Mines.
Yeah, it's not up 10%. What's going on
I
here?
know.
But the gold stocks are still catching a bid in this market, and Agnico, I'm not sure they've reported yet. The stock is not moving a whole lot, but still kind of toying with this 126.65 entry, and like I said, gold stocks, continue to be a nice pocket of leadership in the market. The group ranks eighth out of 197, so tells you that the 6 month price performance has been very strong among gold producers. So we'll see if Agnico gets going here. But lots of good news on the earnings front. It looks like in among large cap tech stocks.
All right. Well, thank you, Ken, for checking out all of those stocks. We really appreciate your take.
Always my pleasure.
All right. Thank you, everyone, so much for tuning in. That's it from us for today, but it is Wednesday. So we do have a new episode of the Investing with IBD podcast ready and queued up for you live at 5 p.m. Eastern on our YouTube channel with host Justin Nielsen. He's going to be joined by Bob Lang. They're going to be talking about earnings option strategies. So make sure to check that out at 5 p.m. Eastern live, or you can check the recording at investors.com/videos or listen wherever you get your podcasts. So we'll see you over there. And then we'll see you in the morning on IBD Live, investors.com/IBD Live for all the details on our daily morning live stream. We'll have the Meta, Microsoft, Carvana, etc. earnings reactions for you and how the team is handling those stocks and looking at their overall portfolios. So we'll see you there in the morning, investors.com/IBD Live for all the details. And we'll see you right back here tomorrow after the close.